car, SUV, or truck, guess what? You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier will treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead country.
And welcome to the Frontier Motor Show here on Talk at 10 on News Talk 1370 WCOA in Pensacola. Glad to have you with us today. If you'd like to get, for instance, the price of a car, truck, or an SUV you're thinking of buying or selling or trading in, why not call Iven Streckel, who is the actual host of this show, by dialing 478-3116. He will answer that question. I will connect you, and I'll see that it happens. 478-3116 for the next half hour. Good morning, Iven.
Hey, Don. Thanks so much for the introduction. Once again, this is a double-formatted show, which means that we are live on the radio, 1370, but we're also videotaping this for our Blab TV customers. So if you're watching this on TV, even though I am alive, it's not live, but they do have a phone number on the bottom of the screen that you can call if you have any questions about buying or selling a car. That's what this show is all about. It's not so much about Frontier Motors. It's to let the people in the Pensacola area know that we are here to help you in your time of need. And I had this happen multiple times in the last month where somebody was driving their car, it got crashed, they didn't think they needed a car, and they ended up calling the show, or they stopped in at Frontier Motors and they said, hey, Iven, I need a value on my car. The insurance company has decided to total it. And one of the things that we do and our sales managers do at Frontier Motors is they will give you a written value in writing, and they'll also add the taxes, the license plate fee to give you a better idea of what you should be receiving from the insurance company if your car gets totaled. Now, don't call us after you already settle with them. It doesn't really matter. What you want to do is do this before you settle. Some insurance companies now are going to comparables. What that means is that they're not using a book value. We use the NADA guidebook, but they're not using a book value. They're going to comparables. So they go online and they find cars that are similar to yours, and they say, hey, this is what we're going to give you because this is what I found that we can replace that car for. But we also have a program for comparables. So we can also pull other comparables up against theirs to see if they were perhaps maybe going a little lower than they should be. The other thing that we can help you with also is, what if your car has major damage but is not totaled? And now you've got a vehicle that maybe is a $30,000 vehicle. It's got $15,000 worth of damage. So right now, what we can help you with is a letter of diminished value. That letter of diminished value is something that we give in writing, which is our opinion on how much your car is going to be worth after it's repaired, because the history reports like Carfax and AutoCheck is going to say major accident reported. And you know your attitude when you're going out car shopping and you find a car that you really, really want, and you run the history report and you find out it's been in a major crash, you get nervous, you get scared. And the only way that I could talk a customer into buying a car like that is if it was a really good deal. And how do you go about doing that? By getting yourself a good deal, by getting extra money from the insurance company because your vehicle has now been compromised. That only works if it's not your fault. So if you run into a tree and you got $15,000 damage, they're not going to pay you diminished value because you did it. But if somebody runs into you, I feel that you should get extra money from the insurance company because we are going to be appraising that car, and sometimes it's quite a bit less. If it says minor damage reported, you're not going to get diminished value. But if it's moderate or major damage, you're going to be getting some diminished value money. And we are here to help you with that. And I think that we're the only dealership in Pensacola that does any make and model and gives you a value. Now, again, that's not a percentage. What we do is we just use our opinion that if we're appraising a car, how much lower would be appraised depends on the accident and type of accident that you have. Now, to get values, by the way, when you come to Frontier Motors, one of the things that we do all day long is give customer values, whether they're buying something from us or whether they're going somewhere else. And if you decided to buy a brand new car, or you've decided to buy a used car for maybe your neighbor or Craigslist or maybe another used car lot, what we do is we make sure that you get a good deal. You don't have to tell us what they're asking. Just give us the ID number of the car and give us the equipment and the mileage, and I can look it up. And by the way, I can do this on the show, on the air right now. I'll give you an example. It's 478-3116. Don's already said it, 478-3116. And you can join us. So if you've got a vehicle that you want to know what would that vehicle be worth, I can help you with that. And a couple different formats that we use. Now, number one is the Black Wholesale Guidebook. The Black Wholesale Guidebook are kind of what I call the secret books that the dealerships do not leave on their desk, because it kind of tells you what they should be buying a car for. And of course, then the other secret is how much are they marking it up and how much do they want for that car. And then they use the NADA Guidebook, which is the retail book. So which book is right? Who really knows? Well, Frontier Motors does, because we appraise cars from morning to night every day except for Sunday. And normally on a weekday, I will appraise somewhere between 30 to 100 cars alone, depending on which auctions are running. In Orlando, for example, they run on Tuesday. They got 4,600 cars. I might pick out 100 cars in Orlando alone that I'm bidding on. I don't always go get them based on if there's other people or dealerships there that are bidding more money for. But that's how we give you a value. If I know what I can buy a car for at the auction, I can figure out how much it costs to buy the car as far as the fees are concerned, put a small profit on it, and say, here's what I can sell that car for. So if you've got a 2017 Impala you're looking at that your neighbor's selling for $25,000, and I can sell you that same car for $23,000, then you might want to go back to your neighbor and say, hey, Frontier Motors said they can get me this exact car for $23,000. So you either drop the price to $23,000 or I'm going to go buy from them. And we normally, by having, I think, this morning was 383 cars, almost 400 cars that we have in stock. So by having such a huge inventory, a lot of times the car that you're comparing it to is already on our lot. So I can use our car as an example where we can say, hey, I've got that car in stock. It's got 5,000 less miles on it, and I can sell it for 23. And your neighbor's car's got 5,000 more miles on it, and he wants 25 for it, only because that's what the retail book value is. That retail book value is what a bank uses to value a vehicle based on how much they will finance on that car. That really doesn't have that much to do with what's the selling car in our market right now going for. What's that car selling for? And that's what we can help you with. And the other thing I can help you with is I can do comparables. So I can give you an idea if the vehicle that you're looking for, what is everybody else asking for that same car? Forget about book values for a minute. If you're looking for, and I'll just use an example that I have right here on my computer. Let's look at a 2017 LaCrosse. Okay, so we have 2017 LaCrosse that has 2,000 miles on it. And when I go to Price Driver, it tells me every other dealership that has a 2017 LaCrosse available. And I see that there's really not a lot in our area because I put in 150 miles. There's only one at Brooks Chevrolet, 100 miles away. And so what I'm going to do is plug in 500 miles. And that gives me every 2017 LaCrosse that's available within a 500-mile radius. So it gives you an idea. There's really not that many. There's 3 exact matches. Anywhere, the lowest one is $29,900. The most expensive one is $35,000. So right there, with the same model car, you've already got a $5,000 spread. So which is the right one? Is it the 29, or is there something wrong with that 29.9 LaCrosse? And then there's one at 35.3. There's similar matches. The most expensive one is $48,000, and the least expensive one is $33,000. So there's a $16,000 spread. So what I'm getting at, folks, it's very confusing to price a vehicle. Now, the reason there's a $16,000 spread, even though they're all 2017 LaCrosses, is because they make 3 or 4 different models. They make a base model, a real loaded model. There's different mileages. Here's one I'm looking at that's a used car, but it's got 45 miles on it. So obviously that's going to go for more than one that has 25,000 miles on it. So these are all things to take in consideration. But the number one thing of why there's such a big spread in the values is the condition of the car. Now, you would think that a 2017 would be in excellent condition, but what if it's been in a major wreck and they painted it and they didn't do a very good job? Wouldn't that have something to do with the value? Isn't that why one might be $29,000 and a comparable might be $48,000? I know that's extreme, but I'm looking at it right now. The least expensive one I saw was $29,900, and that's that Stan King Superstore, 205 miles away. Don't even know, I have a clue where it is. And then the most expensive one is at Wakefield Automotive, 400 miles away. It's $48,000. Now, that's a pretty big spread. That's why you call Frontier Motors, and we will give you the real value of what we can sell a car like that for to make sure you don't pay too much. Now, if you're going to buy a brand new car, the other thing I can help you with is we have the new car cost guides at the dealership. These are invoice guides. Consumer Reports will sell you an invoice. They say that if you know what the dealer paid, it could save you a lot of time from making ridiculous offers on cars. Some of these cars, believe it or not, they don't have a huge markup, so you can't walk in and get a $4,000 discount on some of these cars. But I've got the invoice reports that I will share with you at no cost. So if you're going to buy a brand new Lexus, for example, I can tell you, here's the list price of the car, and here's the equipment, and here's what they paid for. And that'll help you get a deal, hopefully. Give them a fair profit, depending on how hot the vehicle is. If it's a new model that just hit the market, it might bring full list. If it's a vehicle they can get a dime a dozen, then you might be able to get it closer to dealer cost. But I can give you those values. And the other thing I can help you with, if you're going to go to the brand new car dealership to buy a brand new car, let's say you're going to go to Lexus Mobile, let me appraise that car for you. Wouldn't it be nice to have a written appraisal in your back pocket? So if they tell you your car is worth $20,000 and I tell you I'm going to give you $22,000, you can use that information to get yourself a better deal. Now, the reason we do all this is because we know that car that you buy today might not be the last car you ever buy. And we're hoping the next time you decide to purchase a car, you'll give us a try because we're the ones that help you get the deal. You can mark it up $3,000 and you'd still save $6,000 on a car that might have 10,000 miles on it that's 1 year old. And that's what it's all about. Some cars, like the Cadillac I drove here this morning, I've got a new XT6, which is their big flagship car if you haven't seen one of those. First time I've driven one this morning, it's got 1,200 miles on it, Don. The window sticker was $66,000 brand new. And this car is awesome. I wasn't really a Cadillac sedan fan. Mm-hmm. I like the sportier cars, like I like a BMW or an Audi or something like that. But this car, it's amazing. If you drove this car, you would buy it over almost any import that I can think of. And it's a bargain compared to a Lexus. They have a Lexus 460, which is about $80,000. This car is very expensive at, let's say, $66,000. Don, I've got it with 1,200 miles on it. I can sell the car for $49,000. Let me think.
Let me get two of them. Take, one for...
I could throw in a car. If you're going to buy a brand new one, Don, at 66, I could sell you mine for $49,000 and throw in a $16,000 spare. And folks, this is what I'm talking about. That's extreme because it's an expensive car. It's got 1,200 miles on it. There's nothing wrong with it. It's under full factory warranty. If it's a month old, you lose 1 month of warranty. It's got a 48-month warranty. So, and I specialize at Frontier Motors. I shouldn't say we, all of our group at Frontier Motors, we've got 5 sales managers and 12 salespeople, specialize in the alternative to new. We have a Mitsubishi Outlander with 26 miles on it. We have 3 Nissan cargo vans. The highest mileage one's got 50 miles on it. We have a Volkswagen Passat we just purchased. It's got 130 miles on it. We have a Toyota Prius V, which is the big one, with 500 miles on it. A Dodge Charger with 700 miles. An Audi Q3, which is their small SUV, it's got 1,000 miles on. And folks, I can go on and on and on of how many vehicles we have at Frontier Motors that have less than 10,000 miles on it. We probably have around 75 or 80 of them with less than 10,000 miles on it. Then we have about 100 that have less than 20,000 miles on them. And then we also take some really nice trade-ins on these cars. So don't think just because we are the alternative to new that we don't have any inexpensive car. We try to keep at least 50 cars on the lot at all times that we can sell under $10,000. Of course, that's a very popular segment. So sometimes it varies. We might have 50 cars and 3 days later we might have 30 till we replenish those cars. But we always try to have something for the budget minder. Maybe you're buying the kid that's going to college a car and you don't want to spend $30,000 on a car, so you buy one for $8,500 and that's in decent condition. And these are cars that we don't buy at the auction because the older cars to buy at auction, they're sold as is. So these are cars that we purchase from private individuals or we take them in trade. So it really gives you the ability to take this car and we can give you the background check. Matter of fact, our salespeople are nice enough to unlock every single car on our lot every morning. And in the glove box is the Carfax report and the auto check. So you don't ever have to say, well, they never let me see the Carfax report. We put them in the glove box. We advertise that we have them. And by the way, we also advertise that we give free Carfax reports. The last time Don Googled it, I think it was $39.95 for a Carfax report, plus like $3 in taxes. So it's like $43 for one report, which is crazy when you can call Frontier Motors and get that report at no charge. We also do the auto check, so we do 2 of them. And the reason we do the auto check is because that's the second largest provider of history reports in the nation. We want to make sure they match. Every once in a while, maybe 1 or 2 out of 100, they've got different things that they say. So we run them both, so you make sure that you get both reports at no charge at Frontier Motors. And because we unlock all our cars, if you're on your lunch hour, it's almost like going to a car show. The advantage of going to a car show is you don't have to get bugged by 50 different salesmen if you're looking at 50 different models of cars. Of course, most people don't look at 50 different ones, but a lot of people look at maybe 6 or 7 or 10. So if you're looking for a small SUV and you're not really sure if you want a Hyundai Santa Fe, maybe a Tucson, maybe you want a Kia Sorento, maybe you're looking at a Ford Escape or an Equinox or a GMC Terrain, or maybe the BMW X1 or the Audi Q3, at Frontier Motors, it's like an auto show because we have them all right there. They're all lined up and they're all unlocked. That way you can slip behind the wheel and say, oh, this one, boy, I can't see over the dashboard. Or this one, if you're short, for example, you can't get the seat up high enough. This one's not going to work. So you can eliminate the ones that don't work in a matter of minutes. And then what we're going to do, if you find one that you do like, the next question, of course, is how much is it? And is that the best you can do? So our salespeople will come to one of the managers and they'll say, hey, I've got this customer. He's looking at the Audi Q3. We're asking $35,200 for it. He wants to know, is that the best you can do, or do we have any leeway on the price? So what we'll do is we'll look at our cost sheet. We'll put a small profit on it and say, here's what we can do, Mr. Customer. This is the asking price. Here's what I can discount it to. Here's the bottom line. Let me add all the taxes and fees together, and then let me give you an out-the-door figure. Now, if you ever go to a car dealership and they don't do that, I would walk out. We advertise that we give out-the-door figures because if you have the out-the-door figure, it's so much easier to compare if you're comparing pricing. I know it's not always about the price. And if you're looking at a Q3 at Frontier Motors and you want to look at a brand new Honda CRV, for example, I can give you the price of a brand new CRV Honda. I've got the new car cost guide, so I can make it easy for you by saying, here, a brand new CRV is the same price as a used Audi Q3. And our Q3 has 1,000 miles on it. So you might say, well, if it's going to be the same price as a new Honda, I would rather get the Audi. Get something a little bit more luxurious. Now that we have a local Audi dealer that does service work right here, a lot of people will end up taking the Audi if they're the same price. But a lot of times I'll have a 2016 or 2017 Honda CRV right on the lot. So if I've got one right on the lot, it makes it real simple for you to compare them. So we've got them all lined up. You'd only talk to one salesman. You don't get bugged by a whole bunch of people. And you know how frustrating it is sometimes to go from dealer to dealer to dealer to figure out which car you want, because now you have to meet a salesperson at every single dealer, and they're going to want your information and get followed up with every single person. Don, do we have a call?
We do. This is Joe.
Hey, Joe, thanks for calling the Frontier Motor Show. How can we help you?
I've got a neighbor's car that I was looking at buying, and it's a Mercedes 350S.
What year is it, Joe?
It's a 2012 with 34,000 miles on it.
Let me get to that page real quick, and we'll go ahead and run it for you. And it's a Mercedes. And tell me the model again.
350S.
Okay, so is it an E model? An E? Oh, an S model. An S model.
S model. S.
Yeah, S350. Let me pull it up here. And is it a diesel?
No, it's a regular gasoline model.
All right. Well, it's interesting. And you said it's a 2012.
2012, right.
Yeah. When I pull up the S-Class, Joe, what it comes up with, they come up with a 350, it's a blue tick diesel. Then they come out with a 550 and a 600. They don't show the 350. Are you sure it's a 350 or a 550?
350 is what they said it was.
Okay. So let me double check here. I know I do this all, and it's an S model, not an SL, not an SLK, but the 4-door sedan.
Sedan, 4-door sedan.
Four-door sedan. Okay, yeah, they must. And if it's a 12 model, it's not listed in the book. That's interesting. If I use a 350, and they said it was gas, you're just assuming because it's a 350, it's gas.
I just assuming it is, but I don't know.
How many miles are on it?
34,000.
34,000. Okay. What else? Now I'm using right now. I'm using the NADA book, Joe. So let me also plug in the black book real quick, because the black book might have a different model. So let's just double check it. That's why I use two different books The black book is the wholesale guidebook, and the NADA gives me more of what the retail is. So let's pull up S-Class right here. I put 2012 in, and they do the same thing. Yeah, so it's either a diesel, it's the wrong model, because they do the same thing, and they list as a CDI, which is a turbo diesel. And
Right.
I'm not saying that's bad. The Mercedes actually makes a pretty darn good diesel. So some people have this thing about, I don't want a diesel, and some people said, well, it gets better gas mileage. And it's saying that right now that the values wholesale looks like average wholesale is $32,000, and let's take that back, $29,000. And retail is $31,000. So double check. What you want you to do is, Joe, is double check and see if that's the right model in the year. And then when you have that, let's call the dealership and call one of the sales managers at the dealership. Let's book it out for you like I'm doing on the radio show. According to my records, what I'm seeing here right now, Joe, is that it is going to be a diesel model if it's a 12-350, an S350, and that
Right.
wholesale is around $27,500 and retail is around $31,500. So you got about a $4,000 spread between the low and the high. Of course, anywhere in the middle there is a pretty decent deal. Now, that's without adding for a bunch of equipment. They do have some ads. For example, you have the driver's assist package, which is the blind spot and the lane detection. That's a $500 ad. It's got a Bang and Olufsen a radio. I'm not sure if that's saying that right, but they got a radio upgrade, and that's a $450. And those are the only two things they add for, other than if it's got the backseat DVDs, which most people don't care about, but that's a $500 ad. But if you know more information, let's call the dealership, and we'll give you the proper book out for it. Okay, Joe?
I sure appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks for calling. And folks, we do this all day long at Frontier Motors, and people always think, I don't want to waste your time. This is what we do. Now, if Joe comes to the dealership or he calls us, we're going to give him the information, and we're not going to screw up his deal. If the neighbor's selling the car, if it's a good deal, we're going to tell him, hey, Joe, that's a good deal. And by the way, Joe, the easiest way for me to find out what model they have is ask them for the 17-digit ID number, identification number. If they don't know where it is, by the way, it's on their on their insurance card. So sometimes they're driving down the road and they can't get out to the windshield because it's on the windshield, it's on the door, and it's on their paperwork, and it's on their insurance card. So if you get us that ID number, you don't even have to worry about, because it lists the model and it also lists the engine to make sure that I'm booking this out properly. The other thing you might want to know, of course, he already knows the mileage, is what I do when I have the ID number, I run the history report right away. So one of the things I do with the Mercedes, because some of the older Mercedes don't have the best reputation for reliability, I want to look and I want to see how many times was it in the shop and had things fixed. And there are some that I run that have been in the shop. I had one, this was about a half a year ago, and it was an S550, which is the big one. But they had it in the shop in 1 year, 7 times for a new battery. Now, wouldn't that make you nervous? It was under warranty. It was always fixed under warranty. Customer didn't have to pay. But there's something draining that battery, and they have obviously couldn't figure it out. So I would shy away from that car. Now, I'm not saying Mercedes are bad. I love driving Mercedes. I'm from Germany, so I should be a Mercedes freak.
You should be.
I have
You're
had
half right anyway.
Yeah, half right. Thank you, Don. I have had issues with some of the older ones. I'm talking, when I say older, I'm talking 2005, 2006, 2007, and 2008 with reliability. And when you look at consumers' reports, it's really interesting, Don. I have, just by coincidence, happen to have the consumers' reports in my hand, and they rate the best cars to the worst cars. Now, the number one car they rated, and this is not just for reliability, but they're talking about all around, and one of the categories was reliability. The other one was roadability, how to drive. The other one was safety, what type of safety features did it have? And the other one was owner satisfaction. And last year, in 2016, they came up with the best car, which was an Audi. All-around best car. They're not saying all-around reliability, but all-around best car. Number one was an Audi, and I already mentioned earlier in the show that we were so fortunate that we now have an Audi dealership up on 29. They just opened about 4 or 5 months ago, and the facility looks beautiful, and now you have a place where you can service your Audis locally. Number 2 was Porsche, then BMW, then Lexus, then Subaru, and I'm going to go down. Number 20 was Mercedes, and that goes back to what I was saying before, is that they've had some issues, but number 20 was Mercedes. And it's very interesting when you're talking about a Highline product that's not rated that good, when even Chrysler was rated higher than that. And Chrysler has not always been the best for reliability, but they're rated higher than the Mercedes. So is Chevrolet, so is Infiniti, Lincoln, and Volvo, Acura, Hyundai. really interesting. So again, I might sound like I'm Mercedes bashing. I'm really not, because that doesn't mean they're all bad. But I'm just saying is do your due diligence. If you're buying a car, a Mercedes that's out of factory warranty, and I would throw BMW in the mix also, make sure you get an inspection. I would suggest having someone that knows that particular make do the inspection. Don't take it to Joe Blow around the corner. Have someone that knows Mercedes that does a thorough job. Have it inspected. And you know what? You should do that with any car. I don't care if it's a Lexus. If you're going to be spending $20,000 on a used car, last year the average used car sold for $18,000. If you're going to spend $18,000 on a used car, if it's out of warranty, you should have it inspected. You should have it inspected even if it's in warranty. If it's in warranty, the advantage, of course, is that if anything is broken, they're going to fix it at no charge. So the only thing on a car that's under warranty that I would look at is just to make sure that it hasn't been damaged, that there's no issues with the vehicle. Now, we've only got 3 minutes left, folks, so I want to let you know again that we are the go-to dealer for free advice. So when you are in the car market and you're thinking, well, who should I call? The average car on the road right now is 11.2 years old. That's pretty darn old. So I would think that if the average person hasn't bought a car in 11 years, that makes you a pretty novice, not an expert at buying cars. So why not go to the experts? That's what we do all day long. And we're not going to hurt you as far as buying a car from somebody else. If the neighbor has a Mercedes for sale, like Joe's friend next door, if it's a good deal, if it's got a good history report, we're going to tell you. And we're going to tell you if it's a bad deal. If they're asking $35,000 for a $31,000 car, I could say, hey, Joe, I said, don't insult them, but let them know that Frontier Motors can sell that same car for $31,000, so they need to either drop their price or you're going to let us sell you that car. And if we don't have it, we have a great locate service. We go out and buy that car for you at one of our local auctions with the understanding is you don't give us any money, no obligation until you see and get the car checked out. If it doesn't pass your inspection, you don't pay us for it. We are in the car buying market. We sell between 50 and 70 cars every week, so I urge all the people in the Pensacola area that if they have a car they're not using, please bring it up to Frontier Motors. Don't put it on Craigslist. Don't put it on eBay. Don't have people come over the house. Don't get scammed. Just bring it to Frontier Motors. Let me evaluate the car, and I'll tell you in 15 minutes what I'll write a check for right then and there on the spot if you have the title in your back pocket. If you have a payoff, we will pay the car off for you. If you think the dollar amount is not quite enough to make you happy, we might give you $1,000 to $1,500 more to put it on consignment. The reason I can give you more on consignment is because I don't have to tie up my cash. So I can have 2 cars on the lot. And we don't charge anything on consignment. But we'll tell you, if I tell you I can get you $20,000, you get $20,000 when that car's sold. There's no fee. There's no percentage. If we sell for $21,000, we make $1,000, and you get $20,000 to pay off your car. So again, that's Frontier Motors. Almost 400 cars in stock. Look us up on the internet. Like us on Facebook. We got a great Facebook page. We also, show is going to be on YouTube in a couple days. So if you want to see what I look like, no, I don't think anybody cares, but if you do, just check out us out on YouTube. Thanks again for listening and watching. Have a great day. Auf Wiedersehen.
You're in luck. Frontier Motors is down the street. Got the best deals that can't be beat. Don't overpay, come in today. Doing business the old-fashioned way. Frontier, we got the right price. Frontier, we'll treat you mighty nice. Frontier Motors, low overhead.